Friends, this is Mercury, the smallest planet in our solar system and the closest to the Sun. In fact, it is so close to the Sun that even NASA's most powerful telescopes like Hubble and James Webb cannot view it directly. Although this planet is the smallest, it was not always small. Looking at its surface reveals that it has the most craters in the solar system, which indicates that Mercury has had a very violent history. It was bombarded by asteroids for thousands or even millions of years, which turned it into the smallest planet in our solar system. Today's video is about Mercury, where we will learn the story of Mercury and also find out what kind of planet it is and why even NASA's most powerful telescopes cannot see it. As always, this video will be quite interesting, so keep watching until the end. I am Jack, and you are watching your channel, World.com. Friends, if we talk about Mercury, the first thing we need to know is, how was Mercury formed? So let's talk about its formation. Friends, Mercury came from the same place all the planets did. 4.6 billion years ago, a cloud of gas was spinning in space, which we call the solar nebula. As this cloud spun, it reached a star that was about to explode. When that star exploded, the cloud started to collapse and spin very rapidly. As it spun, its center became very hot, where our sun was born. And as this cloud was spinning, the particles within it began to collide very hard with each other, a process we call accretion. Through accretion, all the planets were formed, and Mercury was also born in this process. It is believed that when Mercury was born, it was very large. Scientists believe that 4.6 billion years ago, when Mercury was young, it was roughly the same size as Earth and Venus, meaning these three planets were about the same size. But then something so bad happened to Mercury that it lost its large size and became the smallest planet in our solar system. We will find out what happened to Mercury later on. For now, you should know that we are all part of the stardust, meaning our solar system was formed by the explosion of a star, and after billions of years of evolution, we humans came to this world. So that was the story of Mercury's formation. Discovery and naming of Mercury. So let's move on and find out how Mercury was discovered and why it was named Mercury. Friends, Mercury was discovered about 5,000 years ago. How? Let me explain. Friends, Mercury is one of the 5 planets that we can see even without a telescope. Yes, friends, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn are the 5 planets that are visible to us even without a telescope. These planets look like stars to us, which is why Mercury was observed thousands of years ago. Mercury was observed 5,000 years ago by the Sumerian civilization, and they thought it was not 1 but 2 stars. Yes, friends, because Mercury is the innermost planet of the solar system and the closest to the Sun. In fact, it is so close to the Sun that it is very difficult to see. It appears either shortly before the Sun rises or immediately after the Sun sets. That is, it is only visible in the morning and evening. We cannot see it throughout the night or the entire day. It looks like a star, and that's why the Sumerian civilization knew about it 5,000 years ago. When they saw it in the morning, they considered it the morning star, and when they saw it in the evening, they considered it the evening star. The Sumerians thought they were 2 different stars, but later civilizations understood that they were not 2, but 1 star appearing at different times. Different civilizations gave Mercury different names, among which the name we all know today is Mercury. This name was given by the Romans. It was the name of their messenger god. Mercury was the messenger of the other gods, and in Roman mythology, he was considered very fast and communicative. This name was given due to Mercury's rapid movement, its appearing for a short time and then quickly disappearing. It seems this name was perfect for the planet. So now we know how Mercury was discovered and how it got its name. Let's move on and discuss every aspect of Mercury. Let's start with its size. Friends, you already know that Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system. So, how small is it? Let's find out. Mercury's exact diameter is 4,879 kilometers. But if we want to estimate its size, we need to compare it with other objects. If we compare it to the moon, its size is only slightly larger than the moon. And if we compare it to the Earth, it is 2.6 times smaller than Earth. It is estimated that if the Earth were to be filled with Mercury-sized planets, approximately 18 Mercuries would fit inside it. Image comparing the size of Earth, Moon, and Mercury. Furthermore, while Mercury is a planet, some moons in the solar system are actually larger than this planet, such as Jupiter's largest moon, Ganymede, and Saturn's largest moon, Titan. Both of these moons are larger than the planet Mercury, and if they were in Mercury's position, we would certainly consider them planets. And as I said, Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system. So, what about Pluto? Isn't it even smaller than Mercury? Yes, friends, Pluto is smaller than Mercury, but we no longer consider it a planet. In 2006, Pluto was removed from the list of planets and declared a dwarf planet. So, understand that Pluto is no longer a planet. Friends, that was about the size of Mercury. Now let's talk about Mercury's temperature. Friends, there are very surprising things about Mercury's temperature. For example, it is the closest to the Sun, but it is not the hottest. The hottest is Venus. Furthermore, the daytime temperature here is 430 degrees Celsius, and the nighttime temperature is minus 180 degrees Celsius. This means there is lava-like heat during the day and bone-chilling cold at night. Why does all this happen on Mercury? Let me explain. Friends, as I said, Mercury is not the hottest planet. So the question arises, why not? Mercury is the closest to the Sun, so why isn't it the hottest? The answer is the atmosphere. Yes, friends, Mercury has a very thin atmosphere, which cannot retain heat. How? Let's clarify this first. The Earth has a significant atmosphere that retains heat. When the Sun's heat reaches Earth, the Earth collects this heat in its atmosphere. Because of this, the side of the Earth facing the Sun remains warm, but the side not facing the Sun also remains warm. That is, the Earth remains warm even at night. And as I said, Venus is the hottest planet, and the reason for this is also its atmosphere. Venus has the thickest atmosphere in the solar system, which collects the most heat. This is why Venus is the hottest planet, even hotter than Mercury. Now, the question is, how thin is Mercury's atmosphere? The answer is, Mercury has virtually no atmosphere. Mercury's atmosphere is trillions of times thinner than Earth's, which is due to Mercury's weak gravity. That is, Mercury does not have enough gravity to hold gases and form an atmosphere. So, the atmosphere is the reason why Mercury is not the hottest planet, even though it is the closest to the Sun. Friends, now let's talk about the orbit and rotation of Mercury. First, you should know, what is an orbit and what is a rotation? Friends, an orbit is the path that a planet follows around the Sun. For example, the Earth completes one orbit in 365 days. As for rotation, it is the spinning of a planet around its own axis. For example, the Earth completes one rotation in 24 hours. So, we know the difference between orbit and rotation. Now, let's talk about Mercury. Friends, if we talk about the orbit, Mercury has the smallest orbit. This is because the further a planet is from the Sun, the larger its orbit will be, and the closer it is, the smaller its orbit will be. Since Mercury is the closest, its orbit is also the smallest. Our Earth completes one orbit in 365 days, but Mercury completes it in just 88 days, meaning it completes one full circle around the Sun in just 88 days. When I was reading about Mercury's orbit, I found another interesting thing. Mercury's orbit is not circular but very elliptical. This creates an amazing solar illusion here. We will talk about that later, but first, let's talk about rotation. Friends, because Mercury's orbit is small, its orbital speed is quite fast, but its rotational speed is not that fast. The Earth completes one rotation in one day, but Mercury takes about 59 days to complete one rotation. Mercury's rotation is extremely slow, and this is all due to the Sun. The Sun's gravitational pull is very strong, which constantly tries to tidal lock Mercury. Simply put, the Sun wants Mercury not to spin at all, just like our Earth has done with our Moon. Our moon is tidally locked to the Earth, so it does not spin at all. We only see one side of the moon, which we call the near side of the moon. The other side is never visible to us, which we call the far side or the dark side of the moon. So the moon is tidally locked to the Earth, but Mercury is not tidally locked to the sun. Mercury spins, but due to the sun's tidal forces, it spins extremely slowly. Dear friends, if you like this video, please subscribe our channel for more similar videos. Thanks for watching.